My name is Charles Laurier, and that's Michael Bell, and we're librarians here at Lakeland College. And our talk today is measuring student information literacy in an international two-year academic course, which reports on our ongoing efforts to provide a comprehensive research skills program to our undergraduates. Traditionally, the function of academic libraries has been to provide information to the college's students and faculty. We acquire, organize, maintain, promote the use of books, periodicals, and other types of materials. However, in recent years, an increasingly significant role for librarians has grown to include the training of students to be more sophisticated users of information and what has come to be known as information literacy, which the American Library Association defines as the ability to locate, evaluate, and use effectively the needed information. So over the past 5 years, our library's developed a plan to provide a general information literacy program and research skills training to our students, which we're going to outline to you today. And the need for such a program has actually come from two separate directions. On the one hand, and from the library side, we understood, or we're dealing with rather, a digital internet revolution over the past 25 years. As you all, I'm sure, are aware of the fact there's just been a massive proliferation of different types of media, of the amounts of media, and the finding tools used to get at that information, also with new categories of information coming up all the time. On the other hand, the faculty, we continue to hear a lot of expressions from our faculty that students are not, do not have the requisite research skills, are not good at finding information that would be relevant to a given research project, nor can they find information of suitable information quality. And about a year ago, well, in February 2015, we did survey our faculty, and more than half of them thought that students had poor to adequate research skills, including their inability to locate relevant information or to find information that was adequate or good. So this increasingly complex information terrain, along with faculty dissatisfaction, led us to push for an expansion of the library's instructional role, which had previously been limited to just giving kind of basic presentation of available resources and basic introductions to major finding tools. And a review of the relevant literature also reveals similar concerns across academic libraries. So using the standards that we mentioned earlier, based on the American Library Association, we identified 5 or 6 areas that we thought were going to be key to focus on. The first one was the area of information availability, and students are not really aware of the variety of or the extent of scholarly information or how and why it's produced. Information quality is another issue. Students tend to use information of a poor quality or inappropriate resources, so they can't distinguish between scholarly and non-scholarly resources. The finding informations is also a problem. The tools and methods of finding information have changed a great deal since I was an undergraduate, and they continue to change all the time with a proliferation of finding tools. Documentation is a serious issue, and students were not very adept at making proper documentation or identifying it or understanding why it's necessary. And the final category of information literacy that we're dealing with is information use and abuse, especially the issues around plagiarism, which is a constantly recurring, maybe increasingly recurring problem. So taken all together, these issues form a formidable set of interlinked challenges for beginning college students and for faculty and for academic libraries as well. So Michael will now describe our plan for dealing with some of these problems.
So to address some of these problems that Charles had just described, we developed a new informational literacy program for LCJ. First of all, it was based on the American Library Association standards and guidelines for informational literacy. And we decided, instead of having one session, which is what I think quite a lot of libraries do, we would have 3 one-hour sessions spread throughout the year. We wanted the sessions to be as interactive as possible with lots of hands-on learning to give the students a chance to get some practical experience. And we also just thought it would be more interesting if they could actually interact with us instead of us just delivering a presentation. We also thought it was really important to get these sessions in class time with faculty support, as we felt that that would lend the sessions a certain validity with the students, we thought. Also really important was that the sessions be easy to understand, because quite a lot of the students at LCJ are non-native English speakers. So this was one of the reasons why we chose the Prezi program, because we thought the visual nature of Prezi would make it much easier for our lower level students to understand. And then finally, we wanted to really, certain points we wanted to really repeat and reinforce, especially things like plagiarism and paraphrasing and referencing, because these were the points that faculty had suggested that students were particularly weak in. So each of the 3 sessions we did contained those three factors. So looking at the 3 sessions, the first one then is an introduction to research, and we're basically introducing the library. So the students, we give the students a layout of the library, then we introduce encyclopedias and the importance of encyclopedias. We go through the Dewey Decimal System, which they might not know, and we bring them physically to the library so they can have a wander around. Session 2 and Session 3 were both held in one of the computer labs in NIC. Session 2 dealt with books. So first of all, we described the different aspects of books and different types of books. And then we had to introduce to students how they can access the Lakeland online OPAC so that they can search for books themselves. We've also got quite a large ebook collection, so we had to teach students how to find ebooks. And then, of course, then we had to mention how do we reference books using the MLA referencing standards. And finally, we talked a little bit about evaluating books for things like, things like relevance and reliability and currency and bias, which I think lots of, especially undergraduate students, don't really evaluate text these days. And finally, Session 3 is all about periodicals, but it especially focused on scholarly journals. And it was quite similar to Session 2 in that we just explained what are journals, why are they important, why do we have to use them, and then of course give them information about how do they cite journals and then how do they actually find journals on the LCJ website. Oh, and then also after all of these sessions, we gave the students some practical activities that they could practice at home, and then after doing these activities, they would bring them to me or Charles 1 week later, and we would check through them and give them some feedback. And we thought that this was really important that they get to practice these things at home to reinforce their learning. So just taking a look at some of the actual slides that we used in the presentation. This one is very simple. It's just explaining the difference between the different periodicals. And as you can see, it's very simple, it's very visual oriented. And we really just didn't want to bombard them with too much information because lots of the students are quite low level. The next one, we explained how to do MLA referencing for books. It's not so clear here, but in actual Prezi we would zoom into each of these sections. So the first part we zoom in here, and it explains the different components of an MLA citation. Then we would zoom into the middle section, which is just basically the different sections of a book where we can find this information. And then we try to ask the students to elicit this information so that they can make a reference for this book. And then most important was the exercises. And I think in this exercise we gave them an actual book, and then we asked them to make an MLA reference for this book by themselves. And I think in each of the sessions we had at least 2 activities. Again, we didn't want to be talking too much, so it was very much about the students doing it by themselves, and then me and Charles and also the lecturer would kind of rotate around the classroom and check that they were following what was happening. And then finally, this is another example of, I think, one of the really good points about Prezi. This one shows the students how to access the online catalogue which is called EasyCat. And again, in Prezi, it allows us to zoom into these different screenshots and really walk the students through the process of doing these things. And I think at the same time as we're doing this, the students are all by themselves sitting at their computers and they're kind of shadowing what we do. So as we go through these different stages, students are doing the same, and you kind of learn just by copying us. And then of course after this, they have another activity where they have to navigate EasyCat by themselves. Okay, so that's a kind of brief overview of the program we developed. I think now we're going to pass you back to Charles, who's going to talk about the survey.
Okay, thank you, Michael. So after developing our program and running it for a few semesters, we designed a test to measure student knowledge of and ability to distinguish between the different types of information, understanding of information quality, and how to evaluate for its appropriateness in research, and of course issues of plagiarism. Our survey asked 15 questions, and we gave it before the first workshop and after the last workshop, and we did that for 2 semesters running. And we did see important, I think, significant improvement in several of the areas we surveyed, including giving students an ability to focus research and understanding why they should. Of course, how to locate books, encyclopedia, uses of the various types of materials that we were focusing on, and importantly, plagiarism, how to avoid it, and of course a little bit on websites and their academic suitability, but not nearly enough on that last point. So just showing you a few of the data, some of the data that we came up with on our test. You can see the red is the before and the green is the after. And questions, a set of questions surrounding the use and understanding of what scholarly books are and how to find them with some precision was measured in these questions. And you can see that incorrect, partially, and correct. The correct really jumped up quite significantly in the post-test after the 3 sessions, whereas it was about 20% before, it was at about 70 afterwards. And a similar thing occurred with scholarly journals, which of course are really key to the success of academic research. This one was even more pronounced, where very few students really understood what scholarly journals were or how to use them, or how to assess the difference between a scholarly journal and a magazine article before, but at the end of it, almost 60% did. Of course, we recognized a few limitations to this. We consider, this is just a kind of a preliminary study, and it needs to be much further developed. And secondly, we don't really know how much of this can be attributed to what we did. It may just be that being in academia for a whole year, which is the span of the series of workshops, in itself, and their improved language and everything they're getting in their classes, undoubtedly played a part in all of this, of their improvement. We also realized we need more data and to improve our statistical design. One of the, going back to one of the impetuses for this program, we also wanted to gauge how faculty were feeling about these, because this was one of the initial impetuses that got us going on this in the first place. So we had surveyed them, as I mentioned, and then after we surveyed them again after about a year, and this chart will show you that in 2015, these red areas show their level of concern. Basically, it's a kind of a negative evaluation where they felt that these were weaknesses in the students' ability to find information of a suitable quality or relevant or avoiding plagiarism or ability to document their work. And the green indicates a diminished sense of concern or negative perception on the part of faculty. So we felt that that did indicate some moderate kind of improvement there. And here are some comments. We did get comments from them. They did recognize improvement. but they still had some issues with students not being able to distinguish information types, or they wanted us to get more into critical thinking issues, and they wanted more sophistication with online database searching, just to take a few of their concerns. So, as we continue the program, there are some improvements that we do anticipate. We do look to make it a more integrated and comprehensive approach. It's already integrated into the curriculum, into our first 3 writing courses that we offer for the first year. But we want to try to unify and coordinate those. And just recently, the college has hired a writing coordinator who will coordinate those writing courses. So we believe that we will be able to get even better coordination, although we already have very good faculty recognition of the importance of this and support. We know we have to improve our information, our measurement and analysis, and we know that we have to include other categories that are up and coming, such as social media, games, and the like. And we also look to deepen our application of some of these things to some other areas as well, beyond the basic work. So to go to some subject courses and see if we can go deeper into providing some specialized research training to those courses as well. So to conclude, after completing this first stage of this sort of pilot IL program, which we've now successfully integrated into our curriculum and which has earned a certain faculty approval and administration approval, we do intend to further improve and deepen and extend our offerings where appropriate, and especially to give some kind of accurate measure of the results, which we realize is going to require some greater statistical and planning work, methodological planning work. We're confident that the program will provide improved information literacy and research skills to a large percentage of our students, and increase their aptitudes and confidence in dealing with the vast amounts of information that they're dealing with. And we also believe that we are increasing faculty confidence in the students' research abilities. And we just feel that the program does have great potential to enrich in the experience of our students and significantly improve the quality of education the college is providing. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Charles and Michael, for an excellent